Welcome, everybody. Thanks for giving me a minute there to get everybody in. All right, let's see. Allow recording. Sure, allow recording. That's it. All right, we're gonna get started right away. We got so much to cover today. I'm really excited. We're doing actually how we're transacting this remotely. And you guys feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt and ask questions. Again, I want this to be interactive. So first of all, mic check. I was having mic issues before. Are you guys hearing me all right? Good, we got it, okay. Glad my video guy responds because I was like, I can't get it, but the mic's working. All right, we got two more people coming in. We'll get started. I'm gonna get started, but I wanna just open it up for 2 minutes. Are there any big wins that anybody had so far with this? Has anybody done anything different? I know we haven't even really dove into it yet, but does anybody have a big win that they wanna share to the group? If not, we're just gonna jump right in. So I'll give you 2 seconds to unmute yourself if you got something to share, but otherwise we'll dive in. All right.
Yeah, I got a referral yesterday, Dave, and it was really cool because I structured the conversation the way I wanted it to go, to where this woman wanted to go look at houses, and I gave her the whole analogy that you teach of us being the pilot, and the pilot's not going to go serve the cocktails or fuel the plane. But the good thing about this is they're going to be able to see homes anytime they want. It doesn't matter if it's 6 a.m. or 10 p.m., they're going to get in that home. And they love that. So I thought that was cool.
That's so cool, man. Thanks for sharing that, Ari. And that's the cool thing. Like I shared at the conference that the most common response I get when I present this is not, oh, I'm not happy about this. Oh, this isn't going to work for me. They go, boy, here's our only concern. How much more do you charge than the average realtor? Like that's actually the most common response. Do you charge more? Nope, we don't charge any more. So let's.
Your messaging behind your Facebook post earlier where you mentioned that and you said, did you know that you can get out and go and see homes any time of the day between these hours, 7 days a week at no charge? And the thing about it that I like that you put in there is I'm not going to ask you any other questions. If you want to see a house, that's what's most important. So I did like the way that you crafted that message.
Yeah, and I'll share that. I appreciate that. And that is, I think what people want is, I just want to go see a home, but the friction and I don't know if I told you guys this story or not. Like I spent time with the co-founder of Zillow, Lloyd. I actually embarrassedly asked him who he was. Like, so I was at a Zillow Flex conference 4 years ago. They were just launching Zillow Flex. We had never heard of it. And they just pitched it to a small room in Vegas. And I was on the Premier program, right? I was paying my credit card and we could do it. And then they were switching to this back-end Flex. And after their talk, like Zillow staff were walking around and this guy came up and said, what do you think of this, Dave? I'm like, man, I think it's a great program. And we're talking about it. And I go, so Lloyd, how long have you been at Zillow? And he's, after I had sold Expedia, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is Lloyd, like the co-founder of Zillow. And still with Zillow, so obviously I didn't offend him too much. And we joked about it in Austin here a couple of months ago. I caught him again and I was like, hey, remember me? But he was so frustrated with selling Expedia, having a boatload of money, trying to go buy a house, and the horrible service he was getting from the consumer. Are you pre-qualified? Send over your proof of funds. It's by appointment only. He was like, this is nuts. That's why he started Zillow. And Zillow has really helped me shape what we're doing here. But that post I made on Facebook today, we're actually going to cover it. Today, it's something you guys can rip off and duplicate, and you're just going to see, you're going to get in the way of more transactions by making this easier for people. So let's get going. Let's see, I got some shares here. Just looking at the chat. All right, let's close that out. Let's start sharing my screen. Let's get right into this here. So transacting the sale, this is what we're getting into, how we're actually going to do this remotely. And first and foremost, this is not a TC checklist. That's not what we're going to cover. I'm assuming if we haven't talked about it already, we will. I'm a big believer your TC is your TC. Don't do it. Don't have your admin do it. A TC should be the TC and an admin should be an admin. And when you separate those two, your life gets way better. I've tried it 3-4 different times. I'm like, yeah, you be my TC and you be my admin because I wanted to save money. Now that you can hire a virtual assistant for $4 an hour, make your TC, make your admin. And when they stay in the admin lane and they stay in the TC lane, life's so much better. My first broker and mentor told me that. I actually had a cigar with him 2 days ago. He told me that. I was like, no, I'm gonna be the one guy that can combine them. Don't. So this is not about TCing, right? This is about what you will be doing, what your virtual assistant and your admin will be doing. So if you feel like it's light on TC, it's because That's easy to figure out. Every brokerage can figure out how to do that. So, disclaimer, I want all of you to please check with your broker, check with your Arizona commissioner or your state commissioner. I'm in Arizona. I've had conversations. I actually was just texting with Matt Kuchar. He's just flying back from Inman, the owner of Xiaomi. So he and I have had these conversations. Like, there's this uncertainty in the broker world about what we're doing, right? I talked to a gentleman who might join the course later, but he's 25 years as a DB. He's like, oh, what about agency and all this? And I get it. So there's some uncomfortable conversations around this, but we have asked the hard questions to the commissioner. Is this allowed? And ultimately it is, but I'm not going to step on any broker's toes. So that's my disclaimer. Make sure they're okay with it. So I did throw key pleas in there. I think it was Lynn that mentioned that. I've heard of key pleas. The reason I never talk about it is they're not signed up with our brokerage, and I'm part of a national brokerage. I've asked our corporate level to join. I've asked our DB, so I'm in talks with them to please join, because key pleas, it is like a Xiaomi, so that's another resource you can use, but it is broker to broker specific. So if you're Keller Williams, they're going to keep it at KW, right? If you're Compass, Century 21, Real, they're all going to keep it in-house. So check out that resource. I just can't use it because they haven't signed up with it yet. They probably will, because every time I see our broker of brokers at a conference, he's, love what you're doing, make sure it's EXP. And I say, yeah, it is. Just want you to join Key Please for free so we can keep it that way. But here's the caveat. Like, I had a gentleman not join this who reached out to me. He's like, are you really doing what you say you're doing? Do you remember me? We met at a John Cheplick conference and 2 years ago, and he just saw my post. He's, I need to do what you're doing. I'm making great money, but man, I'm getting crushed. We didn't join the course. I said, hey, I thought you were going to join. He's, no, there's not enough Xiaomi agents in my area, so I'm not even interested. So I'm not after his 297. That's not going to change my life, but I know this will. And my response to that is, if Xiaomi went away today, I'm not going to run back out and build my old model. I am going to figure this out internally. My virtual assistants can get every person at my brokerage. I think there's 2,000 agents in Arizona that are in my brokerage. We'll get all their names and numbers, and we'll put together our own little switchboard. I could have one VA manage that full time, right? It's probably going to be even cheaper than paying a company to just send it out to everybody. So that would be my advice to you. Figure this out. If you're at a smaller boutique brokerage, maybe you have 25 agents, ask all 25 if they can do this, and then have your VA manage that for each showing. Point is, like, where there's a will, there's a way. Figure it out, but make sure your broker is cool with what you're doing. Now, here's what we do to protect ourselves. In Xiaomi, you can request in the public remarks. There's public and private. Private is only when it's accepted, the offer or the order is accepted, then you'll have notes in there. Put in the public ones. Please do not accept this listing if you're not with this brokerage. And you can do that, and maybe it always gets picked up and you never have an issue, right? If it doesn't, that's where you figure out, man, it's been 3 hours, nobody's picked up my order. That's what you have to figure out. And then you can also request specific agents. We have about 4 agents that I would say do 80% of our showings. They feel like staff now because and then I've referred this out to hundreds of agents, and we've had the same person. I was talking to an agent, like, oh, Michael is showing. I'm like, oh, just Michael showed for me. And so there's some people that they just run this full time. So you can start to get a cadence if you want as well. Here's something I want to comment on as I get pushback on this, and just stats. And this is where my mentality comes from. This is from the NAR. I posted the link, and I'll drop this into the chat box. But people are like, what about repeat business? And I got a buddy that does a ton of repeat business, more than me. He uses the system. But here's the stat that I would look at. After doing this 20 years, I know this is probably a very accurate number. 90%, if you look at the bottom, 90% of buyers would use their agent again. 13% actually do. Why is it? Why do they say in the poll to NAR, oh yeah, we'll definitely use them, but then we don't? Like, why are we not actually using them? Like, why is the consumer not using us again? And here's something I saw this morning in an anonymous post in a realtor of mine. I've heard this so many times, it's happened to me, and this is my philosophy behind it. And so I'll read this super quick. This is who I went to high school with, graduated with, showed them many houses, stayed in touch with them. To top it off, his wife is my barber and followed her from shop to shop for years to support her business. Most recently, she opened up her own shop, and I was one of the first there and waited to get my hair cut and gave her $200 to congratulate her. and I have a haircut scheduled for tomorrow. What would you do or say? And you look at the post that they put up there, and it says, man, I got some bad client of blank. I'm sure it's like, this barber has multiple realtor clients. It happens, right? Like, I tell people, if you don't know five realtors in Arizona, you just don't know enough people, because there's 51,000 of us. Everybody's got a bunch of realtor friends. But they told us open house there Saturday on open. Now we just open escrow. We knew they needed to sell it quick because they're, man, I feel like I cheated on you last minute, and hope you appreciate all this showing our new home goes through. Blank is not allowed, huh? I think on Oasis, if she does, I will get you the listing agent if you want. So here's what, first or last time we hear of this when somebody buys with somebody else, because I think they made it very easy and convenient. We were getting your haircut. Hey, did you hear about this property? There's an open house. Let's go. Like, they just made it easy, and that trumped the relationship. So my advice, and you'll see my Facebook post that you guys can rip off, make it easy for your people and ask more people to see homes. And you're just going to get in the way of home sales because of how easy you make it. So remind your world that you can show them a home 7 days a week with no hassle. And this is what I posted on Facebook. You all can just, spice it up, make it your own. But this is just something I posted after reading that this morning. I'm like, man, I need to tell more people how easy it is to work with me. Because that is what has happened to me, is I'm just getting in the way of transactions because we make it super easy. Totally duplicate that, do what you want. Just tell your world how easy it is to go see homes. And I guarantee you, if I threw this out to my entire world, and what I put in there, I'm like, I'm not gonna bother you about why you're doing it. I'm not even gonna ask for your pre-qual or proof of funds. How contrary is that to the way we're taught? I need your driver's license to make sure we're safe, and I need to know who you are, and I need to meet you in the office first, and I need your pre-qual because we guard our time, because it is our most valuable possession. If I go show you this home and you end up not buying, I've lost out on prospecting and being with everybody. Do that. Post it, see what happens. I want to jump back into the questions that we ended with. Is that for everybody? All right, let's switch it up then. Hold on. Tell me how this audio is now. I'm going to switch my mic.
It's a little bit more faint, but it's more consistent though.
Okay. All right, so this is about the best I can do. I've got a good tabletop mic, but it's down here. So can you guys hear me all right? All right, let's get back to that. Thank you guys please let me know right away. I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna drop in that NAR link right now. Somebody asked for it. All right, I'm gonna do this. How's this? I'm gonna get a little bit closer to the mic and we'll handle it this way. So let's jump into, this is a spreadsheet, and I'm gonna give you guys all the deliverables today. I'm just not doing it now, because if I do it now, if it were me, I'd stop listening to you and I'd be looking through everything. But you're gonna get it at the end of the call. That way we can focus and you'll get it. And this will be something I give you. It's not sexy. I just created it really quick so you could actually just see what my business looks like, and then what I would project a 10, 20, 30 unit, 10, 20, 50, and 75 unit person to look like. So get this out of there. All right. So here, let's take a look at 75 units. That's about what I did. I think it was 76 units. I just took my numbers. I did 55 buyers. So I'm more buyer heavy than listing heavy. I used to be totally listing heavy because it gave me more leverage. Now I'm more buyer heavy because it gives me far more leverage and it's far more profitable. So that was my cost with Xiaomi. All right, and so when you see this spreadsheet, which you're gonna get, the red is what I'm gonna have you fill out. And what this is, because I had somebody who's on the call today ask me yesterday, what do I have to do to run it just like you? And this is what it looks like. So to get 55 buyers across the line was like 32 grand. And here are the assumptions. It's going to cost you around 4% of your commission. My average was 3.7. That's going to get you 13 doors. So I basically can get somebody a house within 10 different showings. They look at 10 houses, then we need to get back for the final walkthrough and the keys, and maybe one other time to get in there to measure something. But usually the home inspector is handling one, and then the home inspector is going to handle one again if there's repairs. So I don't Xiaomi that, because if there's repairs, we ask the seller or the buyer to foot that bill, because in my talk, it is, do you really want me walking through to make sure your repairs are done? I'm not a contractor. I think you should get a home inspector in there. So we have them foot the bill. It's usually around $100 to get them back in. So that's you showing. So let's look at these numbers though. My average commission is $14,500. My company cap is $16,000. So those are my cost of goods. My transaction coordinator, you'll see it dips because she only charges me $225 a file. I try to get her up, but I've referred her out to a lot of agents. So I let her, I've got a good network of agents that I've given her to, so she cuts me on the price. It only costs 17 grand to TC. Now, let's just say you were 350 a file. It's 17.5 at 50. I think anybody can find a dynamite TC for 350, so let me just do that. But that was my actual cost. So my net came in around 915. This would take it to 906. Okay, not a big deal. But that was my cost. My VAs, because I have a video and 3 full-time people, came in at 49,000. So out of $1,087,500 of GCI, my cost of sale was 39. My operating expense was 132. That's about 12%. I think I was 11.4. I was because I just jacked up my TC. So if I take this back down to 225, that takes me back down to 11.32 because my TC was only 17,000. And then company cap, E&O, that's your net income. So the percent kept after everything was 84%. And that is so unusual in the business, because I'm going to show you the Gary Keller MREA model. How many are familiar with the MREA book from Gary Keller? Is it just me? Most of you, right? It's that big red book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And this is Gary would tell you to run is if you want to do 1.2 million, I was just shy under that. You're going to, the way Gary proposes it is you're going to sell half. So the Rainmaker is doing half the production at 600,000. Your agents are going to do the other half. You're going to pay your listing agents probably 35%, your buyer's agents 50%. So your blended rate is about 200,000, right? Does everyone track? 1.2 million, 600,000 produced by you. 250 is your share of the buyers. The remainder goes to the other agents. Down to 850. Your expenses are going to be about 30%. Which is 344. You're going to keep $506,000 if you can do 1.2 million with the traditional model. You're keeping 42%. It's almost double when you run this model. Now, let's just say you needed to lead gen and you want to do all those things. You wanted to run a 29% expense rate. So that would need to be 344. So I would have to add like 220,000. So I'm just going to go into rent just to add that and say, okay, let's spend 220 the way Gary Keller says I should. I'm not 2.2 million. That'd be bad. 220. That takes me to a 31.5%. You still would keep 64% of the commission, which is 50% more than what Gary is telling you to do. From 42 to 64, it's a 22% increase, which is half, which is double. Like you're keeping double. 50% more, sorry, 50% more of what they would run in that model because you're eliminating the cost of sales to agents. Here's why I can tell you the expenses are less is because I convert better. I don't need as many at-bats. A good Rainmaker doesn't need it. I don't need as many seats in my CRM. I don't need as many meetings. I don't need a director of ops. I don't need 2 office buildings or 2 office rooms. And so you can get really lean when you don't need a bunch of people who are wasting your leads. Now, again, doesn't have to be either or. It could be an addition, right? Like I got my big team leaders on this call. Keep doing what you're doing. Just start pivoting more personal production if you want to see that increase. But let's look at it with 10 units, or let's say 20 units. If you did 20 units the way I'm proposing to Shawami, TC, Sierra, Gigi, I would use CTE and not Sisu. I don't think you need Sisu at that price point. I would use HomeBot, not Fellow. And then I would have your virtual assistant at 13,000 is what it's going to cost you. That should, my commission of 14.5, 290 of commission expenses if you don't have other ads. All this, you're going to keep 78% of the deal if you do it this way. Now, let's just say you're like, Dave, I need to spend $30,000 a year in my ads, plus my additional expenses like yours, let's say they're 20,000. That's still going to keep you 61% of the deal, which we come back down to here. You're now running pretty close to a $10 million producer. And what is that going to be? 20 units at 14.5. You are doing, let's see, that's going to be that's going to be about 10 million. Yeah. So at 10 million, you're running pretty close because this model with Gary doesn't have any cost of sales. And the expenses they say should be about 93,000. So the same number. So it really works as you start putting in 50 grand, that's 60 grand of expenses if you need to do that way. But again, you're not leaving the office. You're running a very similar model without leaving the office. Any questions on that? Any feedback on that? Because now we're gonna dive into how we do this. So before we move on, does anybody have a question on this that we can go through?
Well, yeah, on the 1.2 million you're mentioning that, like you said, they're doing half the production. So they're doing a ton of work to generate the $600,000 anyway, besides running the team for the other 600,000.
100%. And you, Sean, it sounds like you know how hard that is. That's so hard to do both, be like in production, run the team. That's why your expenses get a little high, because you probably need a director of ops and a sales manager. This is what I have found, having been in both shoes. This is 10 times easier. My workload is less. I just have to set one appointment a day. This is my key metric. If I set one new appointment a day, I will close 92 houses. And that's 5 days a week, 45 weeks out of the year. That gives me 7 weeks off where I do not focus on work, no setting appointments, 5 days a week, because my numbers are, when I set an appointment, 39% of them close escrow. So one of my top agents that's been with me for a long time, she's really the only one left, she closes at a 27% rate. So when you run that out over the same numbers, I make 350 grand more, because I get 39% across the finish line versus 27. It seems small, but compound that over 230 appointments. So you're gonna set 230 appointments, 39% will close versus 27. And that's what I typically see, is the rainmakers just close so much at such a higher clip. So you're having to give more leads and more leads, right? But me just coming in for an hour and a half, booking an appointment, and then bouncing is how I like to work. Let me do one appointment, then I'm not doing follow-up meetings and all that stuff. But that's a good question and a good point. Anything else before we move into how we're gonna do this? And again,
Okay.
you're gonna get a copy of this, but go ahead.
Dave, I was just going to say a comment on this, not so much a question. I think it's important for, you see your company cap down there, that's certainly going to change depending on who you're with. We've made a few changes ourselves, and it doesn't matter who we're with now. We went from hey, every deal was 10%. And looking at when you're a very high volume team, that got really nuts. So some people may see their profitability actually increase by going like to a per transaction thing, or if you're like with a Compass or somebody like that, it could be quite a bit more. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, and what I left out on there is, if anybody knows me, I don't pay that. I don't pay $16,000. Like, I get reimbursed every year.
Right.
So you and me both, we're at our brokerages for free, but I still put that in my P&L. But my first tax return, when I made the move 5 years ago from Remax, my CPAs, I need to know what you spent on your brokerage. I'm like, it's that 1099. He goes, no. What you gave them. I'm like, that's what they gave me. Like, it took him a while to understand. And he specializes in real estate professionals, but this was 5-6 years ago. So you made money to be at your brokerage? I'm like, yeah, this is the commission I made, and then this is the check they wrote me to be here. So if you are doing the production where a brokerage will actually pay you, it definitely skews the number. So I'm showing you still with an expense that actually gets reimbursed at the end of the year. And then when we're really talking expenses, I'm not including my coach, I'm not including my Augusta rule, right? Like, I rent my house back for $5 grand a night to do my events. So I'm cost segregating. My children are on salary. I depreciate assets through cost segregation. Like, my goal is to get my taxes down super, super low. So when we're leaving for up north tomorrow, that's a company trip, because my whole family is full on salary. So we're doing a company trip tomorrow. I'm taking one of my employees to Disneyland in 2 weeks. She's 9. I'm taking my significant other, like my wife and I, we're going to Paris and she is on salary with me. These are all got to get creative with your taxes. And these are all pay your family, set up your S Corp, put them on salary. You can pay your children $14,000 a year tax-free. That goes into an account. And guess who pays for their Disneyland ticket? My 9-year-old is going to pay for her own Disneyland ticket. So I'm not saying these are my expenses to operate. But heavy vehicle and depreciate it through that's not an operating expense. That's to keep my taxes down. So we just launched 2 new pad splits. These are properties that I make good money on, and we lease company vehicles. My kids are going to work in that company. Like, you've got to get creative as you start going up. So on paper, we're going to have a lot more expenses, but these are the true costs, the actual workflow of what we're going to do. This is part of the SOPs that we're going to deliver. So see, how are we on time? We got 30 minutes, so we're gonna get through this. We are gonna basically fire through the buyer side of it, not so much the seller side. I'll touch on that, but this is really buyer heavy. So again, you guys are getting copies of this today. These are all clickable. They should be set up as view only, but we've made a copy in case you guys screw it up. So when I say you screw it up, it means you start typing it and it's still an editor, but like, I had my staff triple check that these are view only. What you're going to want to do is any of these SOPs. So let me click on it and it opens up. What you're going to want to do, if you're not not familiar with Google Drive is you're going to want to go to File, make a copy. When you make that copy, edit it as much as you want. You should not be able to edit these because we have them as view only. But if then they're edited and somebody screws it up, I can send you individually your own copy, but we've gone through the triple checking that they're not. Hopefully that'll make sense. So when you get this today, make it and edit it the way you want. All right. So let's just go down this. This is after a buyer consult. This is after I have a buyer that agrees to work with me. This is what our workflow is going to look like. So I have an engagement email that goes out. That's going to be delivered to you when we do the consultation. That sets up how we're going to work. Like what Ari said, this is how I'm going to work. Then we send them this video. It's in that engagement email. This describes how they are going to schedule homes. I just encourage you to do a bomb video that says, this is how you can schedule a home 7 days a week on my site. I'm not going to play it. You have a copy of it. It's a 3-minute video. And I basically walk people through how to set up showings just like Zillow. If you go to Zillow, they say schedule a home. I am prompting my people to just schedule a home, and I send them a video in their engagement email. We also send that out to our prospects. Hey, if you want to see a home, click this link here and schedule it. So that's in our automation that we'll cover. So there's that video. That's what starts it. Next thing that happens is they actually do it. They're like, hey, I want to go see this home. The VA is going to monitor all of your messaging. The best way I have found for a VA to monitor your messaging is to not only get them plugged into your specific CRM, like you can go into your CRM and make sure the notifications are going to them. My girls just have the CRM open 24/7. They're looking at is to set a full. So every notification I get a specific email address, and then those are routed directly to my 3 VAs that monitor that. So there's instructions on how to do that. So if Chris texts me or Marcus texts me, I'm going to get an email notification because that's what we set up. And then that email is forwarded to the VA to make sure that they are monitoring that. That's the biggest thing that you can do right away is have somebody watching these things. All right. Once somebody says we want to only email, text, notification, they schedule it. The virtual assistant is the one that jumps in. Got your street, when do you want to go see it? The buyer is going to respond. That response will go through that work chart, get to the out of it. The VA, we have done, and you send me the 5th one, let me know, and we'll get it scheduled. So then the VA is going to log into your admin. Do not have an admin seat. That's part of my $1,800 a month of ancillaries. That's not much to have an extra seat. Then they're going to log into everything through LastPass. Their passwords without having to show them the password. So if I go to my LastPass, I probably have 300 things that have passwords, and I just give it to them, but they can't see it. There's other companies out there that's what I use. All right, so the VA searches the property in the MLS. If it's still active or if it's not active, they're just going to go back to the buyer and say, hey, Craig, that home on 5th Street just went pending. We're not going to see that one. So they're managing that. If it's with Open Door, we have Open Door in Phoenix. It's a whole view, but it is to me. For that, we have showing time. Now we have aligned only. These are SOPs for that. Some of them are email and text only. So the VAs will put them into Sierra, text them, say, Sean, we need to see this property, right? We're going to handle all of that. Multiple showings, we use routes or showing carts. It's the confirmations from, so I like to control it. You can tell Shawami, hey, you book it. I would rather my girls or guys book it. And then we then go to Shawami, put the order in, and we say, this is already booked in the MLS. And then they'll say, no, we can't get into this property, but Shawami do it. If somebody says, I just want to go see this home, just book it to Shawami and tell the Shawami, did you schedule it or do I need to? And you just say, you schedule it. So VA is going to schedule the booking. Then they're going to say, hey, Craig, we're booked for Friday, and we're going to start at this time at this address. This person's going to meet you there. Here's their contact number. And you can drop in a photo if you want to, because they'll have a photo on Shawami. You can say, hey, this is what John looks like if you want to. Just say, let me know what you think of the homes when you're done. I don't reach out right away because I don't want to step on their toes and feel like I'm out of the loop if they're like, dude, we have 2 more homes to see. So I just wait for them. If they don't call me that day, I'm going to follow up in the morning and be like, hey, how did it go last night? Anything in there that we need to look at? But what will happen is if they like it, they'll call you. Say, we really like the home on 5th Street. If the buyer wants it and they can offer, well, before we get to that, track all of this, guys. So all my VA does is at the end, when they see them, they're going to go into a spreadsheet and say, Craig Roteman saw 5 houses and we were charged $200. I keep a running total for the month and I keep a running total for each person. And that's where I came up with my numbers. We are running that 4% clip. We get to 5 showings in my world without a pre-approval, like I said they're good to go, because guys, I open this up to just my database. I don't even know who these people are. If they hit 5, we put a tag in Sierra that says, not eligible for Shawami without Dave's approval. That's my catch fail to make sure nobody's out seeing 35 homes without me. And then that's where I can call. And those calls to cold internet leads are so much better when you can say, hey, Craig, you've looked at 6 homes. It's been super easy. Is it fair point that maybe we have a quick conversation about how we're doing? And in my experience, people who wouldn't take a call with me. Calling and we're calling, they don't want to do a consult. You can back end people into a good buyer consultation because you gave first. You put the equity into the relationship. All right. So now let's say they want to make an offer. If they say via text, I want to make an offer, the VAs, you want them to see it and immediately start working on a CMA. So this is my SOP on how to do a CMA. You guys all probably know how to do your own. This is mine. This is an example of what a CMA would look like for me. So I've trained my VAs to do 99% of the heavy lifting. I'll come in and tweak it. I'll come in, but they've set it up. They've saved the search in the MLS. They've done it based on my first. They know how to do it. And so I can just, from the fly, I can be anywhere. I can be in Disneyland and I can pop out and I can look at what they've done and I can tweak it a little bit and say, this is what I think we should offer. So you got to learn how to do CMAs on the fly. Let somebody else do the heavy lifting. And then I want my V, and they'll say, this is Steve, the Dave Z Home Team, and our client just saw this property with our showing partner, Josh. Client's interested in writing an offer. Can you confirm if you have any? And they go, nope, no offers. I'll get pinged by my VA. And it's like, great, Dave's going to give you a call. And they just paste the phone number into the message for me. So all I have to do is click call, and I'll be like, Craig, Dave Z, you just talked with, we were just talking, don't have an offer. That's where I go to work and try to get the deal done right there. Like, that's my skill set. Like, I try to butter them up, right? Just talk them up. Be like, man, listen, I think we can get you a really easy, I've been doing this 20 years. I want to make this so easy for you guys. Where do you think we really need to be on this deal? And let them say, we're at 540, but I can just tell you 520 is their bottom line. You know how many times I've heard that where I'm like, I can't believe you told me that, but okay, thanks. So I get off the phone, call my client. Hey, 520 is their bottom line. 520 would be amazing. Great, let's write it up. At that, and my TC, her name's Stevie. I'm like, Stevie, it's 123 5th Street. I just inked out a deal with the listing agent. We're coming in at 520, earnest deposit this, send it. I am literally out, I'm done. I don't think about it again. We went through that on my call. So,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So if you say you have a client that you get today that you go out and go and show and you get it scheduled for, say, this afternoon, and they want to get out and go and see next week, and then you obviously have inspection, walkthrough, all those things, is it likely that they're going to meet with a different person from Shawami each time, or are they meeting with the same person over and over again?
No, it is a different person each time, and that's going to be in our consultation. So when let's see, we're doing transact, we're going to do lead gen, lead conversion, lead consult. So we're like 3 weeks away, okay. But I'm going to show you in the consult how, look at my book post that I copied in there. I'm just flat out telling people, this out of the way. Right, this was my Facebook this morning, and I said I have over 1,000 agents standing by. I'm not ashamed to just say that. I'm like, I got 1,000 agents standing by in my network. So you're just going to let them know how great it is to work with you, because that post I showed you earlier, that person was willing to ruin a relationship and their barber and all that come to our house for dinner because it was so easy. And if they have that kind of relationship and 13% of people go back to agents, 87% won't, it just doesn't matter. Who is doing it, I have found doesn't matter. So you set that expectation. Probably gonna be somebody different every time. They're like, I don't.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, for sure.
So what happens if you're this prospect schedules 5 showings, right? And then they don't show up. Like how do you ensure, I don't know how that cost, do you have to take in the 5 showing cost, or how does that work?
Yeah, you run the math and you're like, burn a little bit of money. Sean, is it Sean or Shane? I never know. Sean. So I'd be like, let's say Sean, I'm like, hey man, let's go to Vegas this weekend. There is a blackjack table I have discovered. It's $39 a bet, and every 13 bets you'll make 15 grand. You would go with me, and let's just say you make 8 bets and you win nothing. You're like, the heck, man. I'm like, just give it time. Just give it time. Like you're only 8 bets into it. That's how I look at it. The cost to do that compared to the old model should just fine. You eat it. Maybe you call that agent. You call that agent and you're like, hey.
Like, I imagine you've had that happen where someone's scheduled.
Totally.
And just no-showed, basically.
They no-showed. I'm like, big deal. Big deal. Like,
yeah. How that actually, how the mechanism works. Like,
so I will tell you, we had a gal that was doing a lot of showings for us. It happened, and she said, next time, just call me direct and I owe you 5 showings. That's what she told me. Super cool gal. She's like, I got paid, I owe you. And I was like, that's fair. You don't have to do that, but that's fair. So, but that's a good question.
Hey,
so,
Dave, on that same tick or something like that, and it's not just, and they let that show like no charge, they just go in and cancel it, right?
yeah, it's a great question, Brent. I will find out, because I'm so not in the weeds on this, but I know they can cancel. Maybe it's within 30 minutes. If it's 31 minutes, they can cancel for free. But if it's within 30, I think Xiaomi still keeps the money. So the good news is
VA's following up to try and make sure they're going to be there.
no, it's rampant. How many no-shows do you guys really have? We get cancellations, but no-shows aren't that common. No-shows aren't that common in my world. Here's what's cool, Sean, this up on this. You book 5, they no-show, it's actually not one order. It's 5 individual orders wrapped into one. So if they don't go to the first one, you can cancel the other 4 and just say they no-showed and cancel the 4. And the Xiaomi agent can report back to Xiaomi and be like, yeah, they didn't show. So you might get charged, right? But we learned.
But you're relying on the Xiaomi agent to be honest there, aren't you?
For sure, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easy money to play with is what you're gonna find, I guess is the point. But these are all good questions.
Dave, are you able, because I mean I know you're with EXP, so you have a ton of agents there.
Yeah.
Are you able to request Xiaomi just broker specific?
Yeah. I don't want to shame you, Brent, but I said that right here.
Yeah, I know. I meant to prep that with if you'd said it before. So.
Yeah, no, right here, you can put it in the public remarks. Don't pick up this order if you're not an EXP agent. I'm just giving you a hard time because I love you.
I know.
All right, so we got to keep going because we got 13 minutes. You can see there's a lot here, guys. You're going to have it. The offer is being written. That I covered on my webinar. Hey, write the offer, gets back to me. And then again, it's going to go to the TC. The TC is going to handle much. So because I'm not meeting people face to face, I give video time. So when you go into escrow, I'm like, congratulations, your home's been accepted. These are all the videos that we send out through in a templated email that my staff is handling, like what to expect. I like staying ahead of my people, like appraisals coming. Here's what I don't like getting. Hey, Dave, when do we get our keys? And when should we go sign? And when does this happen? And when does that happen? So we have our templated emails and we let the seller know what's going to happen with the appraisal. I'll just share my audio. I'm going to play like 30 seconds of it. But you guys have a copy of all these. Duplicate them. I do not care. Just don't tell me that they're horrible. Take them, but if you're like, oh, these suck, just don't tell me. Can you guys hear that? Let's talk about the appraisal. Your buyer needs to use a company that's going to appraise your current market value of your home. Based on that value, the lender will determine how much money they will lend to the buyer. If the appraisal is lower than your asking price, the buyer may use that to renegotiate the price, or they can cancel. One thing to know, you will not receive a copy of the appraisal, especially if it... I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you can see these are quick videos, and I think it took me 4 hours. That's a 47-second video. And guys, I just went through, because I was like, I've said this 1,000 times. You can see that's not that long ago. I didn't shoot this 15 years ago. I wish I did. But I was just lamenting one day. I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking about keys one more time. I'm talking about appraisal one more time. Does this guarantee they always watch it? No. But when they call and they're like, remind me on the appraisal, I'm like, yeah, for sure. Here's what we're doing. But you've got that video, so check it out. I think that'll cover more of it. If you have questions, there's a 47-second video you should have got. They're like, yeah. I'm like, no problem. I'm like, you're still going to answer it, but you are staying ahead of it and you're giving them a good experience where they're not wondering. Nothing's worse than a client going, what's next? My clients, I'm staying ahead of them. So I give you my cadence here. You can see, but those are all the videos in this Dropbox folder. But this is how we do it. Offer goes out. So once you film this, I'm coming in for the consult, coming in little moments, and then we're going to use a lot of videos and communication. Like what don't you, hey, we're clear to close, don't do this, don't open up lines of credit. Let's go into the inspection. Who has got a limiting belief that you need to be at the inspection that we can role play or talk about? Does anybody have that concern that you're not at the inspection? Anybody brave enough to tell me or no? Somebody's smiling, so you need to come on.
I have a limiting belief, but also I was wondering for the agent visual inspection disclosure, at least in California.
You're going to have to handle that. I know Matt and I talked about that. So it's not something I have to deal with in Arizona, but Sean, you have to be there for the visual inspection, right?
The visual inspection is just me walking through the place saying, I was here at this time with whoever was here, and I just observe what I see or what I might know, basically. That I guess it's more like proving that I actually was physically at the property.
Does it have to be you? Can it be a staff member, a brokerage member, or does it absolutely have to be you?
I'll talk to my broker about that. That's a good question.
Because
I mean, I'm sure someone has to do it, but
I have somebody that just joined me and was at KW in 10 market centers, and it's like he's selling in 10 different areas, and he's a heavy Xiaomi user. So we're getting him down to one $16,000 cap, which he's going to get back. He's spending a ton of money, but he's in California. He actually just came on yesterday. I'll ask him about that, but I know I've heard that before. So for the rest of you not in California, there is something in that local market. You've got to be at the visual inspection. But my pushback would be, why am I qualified? Let's say I'm 24 years old, just got my license, I've never owned a home. Why am I qualified to be there? Can I pay a qualified home inspector to be there? I'm not running a model that's selfish. It can seem that way. I'm running it so agent-centered because I'm putting the right people there, the people that want to show homes, the people that get joy out of doing it. And then I'm having the home inspector go back to review because I'm not qualified for that. I don't know if the repair was done. I'm not getting on the roof. I'm not checking the pipes if we did a plumbing repair. I'm the last person. I'm there usually to protect my commission. So I think I'm doing them a favor. And Sean, I'd really like to know the answer on that if you don't mind. Tell me.
And also as far as like the home inspection, I'm actually less concerned about that part because what I always ask the home inspector to do is, well, obviously they'll furnish a report, which sounds horrific, but then I schedule a call between myself, the buyer, and the home inspector. The home inspector walks through it, diffuses any potential concerns that's written in black and white on the inspection report because they provide a little nuance and everything to what that is. So that part's not the one that concerns me. It's more, again, the stupid agent visual inspection disclosure where you're going, again, I'll have to confirm if it can just be someone else at my office or something that can do that.
Yeah, I really want to know. I really want to know the answer to that because that's something, again, it's not my personal constraints, so I can't speak on it, right? And so you can't always duplicate everything I'm doing. And I know there's some good questions in here. So Trisha, and she's local in my market. This is one I think, so let's talk about this. You cannot change my mind on this. So this is my script for a home inspection and we'll go over it. I do it in the consultation. This is what I would say. And I'd say, all right, so Marcus, next step is our home inspection. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. What I have seen is the majority of realtors want to go to a home inspection to protect their commission. And I think the last person that should be at a home inspection is your commission agent standing over your shoulder, trying to influence your decision. So out of my respect for you and you're respecting your ability to cancel, I want you to have privacy with your home. He's been doing home inspections with me for 15 years. Subconsciously, he might protect me. I'm not saying that's the case, but I want you alone and say, Kevin, I cancel. Is this a house? Am I getting into a bad situation? And if you do cancel, I don't know if it was because of him or you. So I respect you enough to let you be there alone and ask those hard questions. That is my...
That's a good script, Dave.
It's true.
Can I add that if that happens, the deal's dead anyway, right? So...
That's it. Like I was just telling someone the other day, there's a meme of a golfer who gets like on like flat, he like lays down to look at his ball. And somebody posted like dad's at a home inspection looking under the stove, looking under the stove. Like it's true. So when you run enough volume, you can let go and not hold on so tight. But when you're tight as an agent, you want to be there for you. And I just call it out. I'm like, these agents are showing up to get you to move forward with the deal. Same thing at the home inspection, the final walkthrough. So I want to give you the right to buy and the right to cancel. And you have the dignity, you deserve it to be there alone. And what's going to happen is at the end, you're going to let me know if you want to move forward or not, or if you want to cancel. And I don't know who said to. If the home inspector said, get out of this house, that never makes it back to me. People are like, that makes so much sense. My last realtor was following me around. And I'm like, yeah, he wanted to make sure you move forward. I'm not using that as a script to be convenient. I believe that to my core. Get out of the way. Stop getting in there. And they'll say, what's going to happen? And let's go back to the page here. Is going to be, close this out here. Here's my script, right? Is here. I want them to do, and then I'm not afraid of work, guys. I'm putting in 16-hour days some of these days. But I don't want to work on their schedule. I want to work on my schedule. Last thing I want is when I mentally hang it up, that's the worst part about this business, right? Is we're like, hey, work. So once you develop like you're in control, I can go to dinner with my wife and be free because I have other people handling it. And I don't want a home inspector or I don't want the buyer to call me at 5:55 and be like, oh, Dave, 911, call me back. We found some major repairs. So I set the expectation. We are going to book an appointment 72 hours after the home inspection to review it. Here are your 3 options when you go do your home inspection. Just can't text me these things. Cancel, accept it as is, or ask for repairs. That's all I need to know. That's all the communication we're gonna have. I don't get I want to talk to you about this. So just tell me you're gonna ask for repairs. It's already booked in our calendar. And we're not gonna make it through. I'll stay late, guys, for those of you that wanna stay. But I have a how to build your repair list video. So watch this video. My home inspector uses software that allows them to write the repair list by themselves. Same thing. Guys, this is your home. You're an adult. Half these people buying are smarter than you. That's what I believe. Half of them are smarter than me. And I'm just the resource guy, but it's their home. They'll tell you what they want repaired. So I'm gonna say, if you want it and you give me as is accepting or repairs, I'm gonna get on the phone with the home inspector. I'm gonna talk to him. Kevin, what did we find? What are the big things that I need to focus on? Then I'm gonna review the inspection report. They're gonna review the inspection report. And then they're gonna do the homework and build their list, email it to me. Then we jump on a Zoom. And I'm like, guys, you did great. These are the 6 things you want. I think we're gonna get them all done. Or guys, you asked for 32 out of 33 items. If you don't want the house, this is a good way to go about it. Right? But I'm just grading their work and I'm not spending hours building the Binzer. Book it in my calendar. Don't call me at 6 o'clock panicking. That is where I have more peace in my life. And I think they're confident knowing, hey, we're gonna talk about that on Monday with Dave, right? All right, we're pretty much near the end. I know we didn't get through all of it. We've got, let's see, so the repair list. Once that repair list is written, we send it to the TC, she writes it, sends it out. Here's the last part we'll cover, then I'll stay for Q&A for you guys. But once we have clear to close, the TC is gonna set up the final walkthrough. And they're gonna do that in one of 2 ways. If we're just looking at receipts and invoices and all that stuff, we'll just have a Shawami agent go out there. Let's just say they got credit. Like I just did a Binzer this morning for a seller. They're doing a $5,000 repair credit. So if I was the buyer on that, no need to walk it. Like a Shawami agent can walk it. Now, if they did a lot of repairs, we're gonna have the home inspector go back out. So the home inspector verifies the repairs, and that's gonna be done just with the home inspector. I don't have to order Shawami. And then we're gonna have a lockbox curried over so the home inspector, so that lockbox is there. All right, so I want a lockbox there, a contractor one. Then once utilities are set up, all that stuff, and we review the settlement statement, all that stuff is accurate. I'm going fast here. But the big thing is I don't meet people for keys. I have a 13% chance that they're gonna transact with me again. And so I'm just gonna go with that. But I still deliver a good experience. I'm not like brushing them off. I just get to call them and say, hey, if I know we're closing Friday and the funds are there and everything looks good, we're gonna have the box there. And then if it closes Friday at 2 p.m., we order Shawami for 3 p.m. They transfer the keys from the Supra into there. They'll go inside and they'll take a picture, and you can actually have them upload pictures that the keys and the remotes and all that was there. We send that to the buyer and say, here are all your keys. The key is in the lockbox. The house is yours. Congratulations. And you're just getting out of the way. And that's how I like to run it. There's more in here. Like these are the automations I put into Sierra. So I want to text them the next day. How's your move going? 3 days later. How's everything going? 7 days later. Crazy. It's been 1 week. My VAs are sending these out, not me. And then we'll add them up into our follow-up plan. But guys, here's what I'll tell you on sellers really quick. It's a super short one. There are 5 ways that we sell our properties. And of those 5 ways, there's different people that would go out to the homes. The best and easiest way is just to find a good agent who's willing to take 20% of the commission, which is a good deal. It's a good deal. Just go sign the paperwork and negotiate. So now you're keeping 80% of the deal and you're not handling it. That's what I would do. I have done it, but what I like to do is have, based on going to sell their home, but because I am building a great portfolio by going out to properties and saying, I overspent 50 grand on a property and just closed on it 2 weeks ago. It will net me 4 to 5 grand a month in cash flow by overspending by 50 because I assumed their 3.25 mortgage. It's the best use of my money that I can do. So because I went to the property, because I'm still getting my hands dirty as in sellers, I'm turning away listings and I'm getting some great assets. So I think still being involved is there. So this is your workflow. I know it seems like there's not much, but sellers already have a ton of leverage. And if you can get out there and you can pitch a creative finance and they're like, what's that? Well, your property, I'm going to pay you this, but I want to assume your mortgage. And now you can start picking up some great cash flow properties. So let's end that there and let's just do some quick Q&A. And I can give you guys at least another 15 minutes if that works.
Dave, do you have VAs? You have 4 VAs. One of them stays on call. Is that right?
So the way I stack them is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then they just work different shifts. So,
But they're not in the country, right?
no, they're in the Philippines, but one logs in at 8 a.m. and then the other one, she works 8 to 6 and then I go 11 to 8. And then we just stack them and then they have different days off. So I have Saturday coverage, Sunday coverage, right? You need about 3 to have continual coverage. If you're not selling 75 homes, you may not deserve 3 VAs, right? If you're just doing 20, start with 1. Be your own VA. Build to this, right? But you can get 40 hours of your life back for about $12,000, 40 hours a week. Crazy.
How much do your VAs cost as far as, I don't know if there's any sort of finder's fee or like how the cost structure is for a VA?
Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it. We can get into that. There are companies that do it, but the way I prefer to do it, and this is probably a good time for me to throw in a spoiler alert. I just worked out with my coach yesterday. My coach owns one of the biggest VA companies in the country. And he actually personally coaches me because he speaks on about 100 stages. I am going to run a VA system through me for about $300 a month cheaper than him, but I'm going to train him for 2 weeks first. Here's the biggest problem with VAs. Nobody's willing to train them. Nobody has the systems. I'm giving you all the systems, but I was going to send all of you, if you wanted VAs, to this company because I think they do it the best. And he yesterday was like, I'm just going to have you do it. So I'm going to source them, find them. They'll spend 2 weeks with me learning everything we do. So you would spend, for one VA with his company, you would pay your girl or guy $4 an hour. That's $640 a month. But they're going to charge you $600 a month to find them, train them, and do all of that. So I'm going to be a little bit cheaper, and you're going to get them, they're going to onboard with me for 2 solid weeks. And then I'll hand them over, and then they can onboard with this other company. So you have basically 2 different VA companies as an option. Now, again, I'm here to offer that if you need it. If you're smart enough to do it, just go do it. But I have seen people not take action because they're like, training a VA sounds like a nightmare. And it can be. So this is what we worked out. If that's something you want to do, we'll talk what I'm launching. Like, guys, you're my beta test. My goal next year, my goal is to get to 1,000 in the country, and they're paying me for it. I'm not ashamed to do that because it's changed my life. And I know the biggest need is this implementation of the VA. We're starting that process now. So by the end of this, I'll probably have 10 VAs that are well-versed in my system, know exactly what to do, and it'll probably cost you $200 a month cheaper than what you would find with him. Or you just go on Facebook and go post in the Philippines, this is what I'm looking for. But then you train them, you hire them, you do it. That's what we'll end up after the end of this 6 weeks. I'm going to have recurring meetings where my VAs are going to train VAs. I'm going to keep doing these coaching calls, and people that sign up for VAs through me are going to get that. Your VAs will get trained. And then we have the platform is with Sphere Rocket. They have hours and hours of training that the VAs that are sourced through me will have free access to that. So it's basically a specialized training with me and an overall training with them. So that is something we'll offer. What's that?
It's like $900 a month for a 40-hour work week?
It'll be like $500 for me, probably $600 for the VA. With Sphere Rocket, there's $600 a month. So it might be $400. Like, we're still finalizing it, but I want it to be a little bit cheaper than them. But you got to pay for that finding and training. But you could post an ad today in the Facebook and say, I need a good Philippine VA and I'm paying $4 an hour. Just pay them direct. You train them, you do it. If they suck and you got to replace them, you go find them again. So the reason I work with Sphere Rocket is because I could call today and say, I need 4 and I need them fully trained and I don't want to have to do it. Now, even though they're trained, they're going to show up and they're like, Dave, what do you want me to do? And you're like, I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'm busy. So what I want to implement is, this is the leverage agent model. Everything we did, they are just going to be killers at so they can train you. And they're like, this is how we do it with Dave. So I don't know. I know that's going to be valuable to some of you, not to all of you, but I offered that to somebody 2 days ago, and I've been telling him to get a VA for 2 years. He's my older brother. He sells real estate, and he won't do it because he won't train him. I'm like, how about I train him for you? And that I would do. So that, just know $4 an hour is where you need to be, and then you'll probably have to just rack it up every year to $4.25, $5, but you're going to find a dynamite person for $4 an hour. But train them on your CRM. But guys, what I'm delivering you is something you can hand to them. You're like, figure it out, and that's the goal. But that's taken me a long time to figure out. A lot of calls with them, a lot of videos. So I want to take that off of hands for people and really make it a zero cost. What else? There's some new messages. Can I be with Sphere Rocket? Heck yeah. Yep, for sure. Yep. I'm excited about this. This 6 weeks is going to be awesome. But what I'm really excited about, actually implement some VAs. And what I'm running is not just a switchboard today. We're going to get in how they lead gen for me, how they lead follow up for me. Like, it's going to be a profit center. That VA is going to be finding you deals in your database. It's 2024. Like, we don't have to hire very expensive hires. So you can see I've got one video editor, 3 VAs, that's 40-some thousand a year. I was paying 60,000 for one admin. What else? What else do we got on here? What did I miss?
How often do you run into times where you don't get a Shoami person to pick up the showing?
Like, Chris, it's like 0. Okay. Now, go to Shoami and go to the agent coverage, type in Scottsdale, it's 1,400 agents. It's crazy. It's really 0 for me. I don't know. Where are you moving to Florida, Chris?
The Panhandle area in Florida, but ideally I'm going to utilize this
in both
for after leave.
But you've got hundreds, right? In India, was it like 400?
There's a lot. The only thing that bothers me is some of the rural areas outside. But I think if you just even if you add a premium to them and maybe offer a $10 bonus or something for gas because it's out of town or something.
100%. So here's what I'll tell you. On a home, $39 doesn't always cut it, okay? When it's Sunday and one home and it doesn't go, bump it to 49. I've had to go as high as 59 where I'm like, oh, it's killing me. $59 on a Sunday, I'm not showing out. So that is probably your biggest issue. Last minute Sunday, one home, maybe you pay a little bit more.
So basically you're converting effectively 1 out of every 4 appointments. If you're trying to book an appointment a day and then you're doing like 92 deals, so give roughly about 1 out of 4 roughly appointments are you converting?
No, I closed 39% of the appointments that are set. So if you give me 10 set appointments, 4 of them will be escrows. That's 40%.
That's really, in this competitive environment, that's really good. Do you have any trainings you could point my way? Because I'm going from listings to doing more buyers, and so it's a very competitive environment, of course.
We'll cover that, man, when we get into lead gen, lead conversion, the consultation. I am not some rock star, superstar agent. I just have more people asking people to see homes, making it easier. I'm the easiest realtor to work with. When you can see a home when you want it every single time, and we always answer our phones, we are always on. Everybody thinks I work 24/7. So why would you not work with me? And then, do I have a good resume? Yeah, you can go to Zillow and yeah, dude sold a lot of houses. So does that play in? And I think I'm very good at sales, but I read a lot of books on sales, right? I gave you all those books. So I think there's just a lot that goes in there, and I'm super confident about how we're doing this. Like, I get people excited about this, but those are the numbers I track inside of Sisu. You set me an appointment, so 39 times out of 100, we're going to get you a closed home. Now, also, Sean, some of my lead sources like Zillow and HomeLight are a little bit higher. They transact higher, right? And then a 1,300 person database. Is it fair that when a past client calls me and I close them, is that my conversion or is that my database? So everyone's going to be different. But Linda's been running with me for 6 years. She's an amazing agent. She's at 27, right? We're really running the same system. So I like to track those to see if there's some areas that we can improve upon. And I just take less people. So that's my secret sauce. I want anybody that's working with me to feel like they're the most important person in the world. And you can do that through other people. So Sean, what if you were texting people properties twice, 2 or 3 times a day? Texting them. That's going to lead to conversion. So my girls do that. Sean, I think this property is great for you. Hey, I was thinking about you and I thought this property was great for you. The best response was like, that's the wrong property. I told you I needed an RV garage. Sorry, you're right. But I thought about you in the kitchen. Just make it easy for people is what I have learned. I just make it easy. When do you want to go? Because I've been running the showing partner for 3 years prior to the Shoami model. The friction, I don't ask for prequals. Shane, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, thanks for today.
Was this good? Did you guys get some good stuff today?
Really good, really good.
Good.
Buyer workflow, what?
Okay, so I just put it on a Google Drive, obviously, but...
Yeah, I saw that. There's a separate checklist that's firing things off with them. I'm just curious.
Yeah, we use Sisu for task
right,
management. Yep, Sisu can do a lot, and they can have the workflow. Asana, I've got a buddy that does it. Honestly, they're just so good. We just have those next steps all laid out. So we're not really following a checklist, to be honest. It's not check the box. And everybody's so dialed in. The TC is good at what they're doing. Everybody's pretty consistent what they do. But I would look into Asana for a cheap solution, but Sisu can build in your workflow. What else we got? So let me email you. So when the video is done recording, you'll get a copy of the video, and then you'll get a copy of that folder that's going to have the SOPs in one folder, and then the workflows, and then that Excel sheet. Make a copy of everything so then you can edit it.
You mentioned that you do a video for like when they're doing the bins or like how to create their list of stuff.
Yep.
Is that something that you could share as well?
That is in the SOP. So you'll be able to click on the video. And then what I would do, Trisha, is just take it to your home inspector and be like, I don't know what Dave Z is doing. What, do you have access to this software? Because it's not mine, it's my inspector's. And so when they get their home inspection report, it's a link, not a PDF. And then when they open up that link, it'll show build a list, and you click and then print it out and you email it to me. And it's, here's all that we want repaired. Because the bins used to be like the death of me. I'm like, here's a fall, right? We're just like going over it. So I make them decide. I make them do that. Or it's not my house. 3 years from now, I'm not going to care what repairs we made, but you will. You take ownership of it. I think that's why people like working with me is I'm like, it's yours. I'm going to give you all the resources, but I'm not going to do it. And I think people appreciate it. And it's way less work for me. And it should be. Like, I think we are trying to validate a massive commission amount in the wrong reasons. Like this is the wrong reason to validate. I am worth $1 million a year because I know how to market and lead and communicate and solve problems. Not because I spend 5 hours on a binzer, not because I go to final walkthroughs, not because I deliver keys at closing. Just like the analogy of the pilot, that's my worth. The rest can be done through other people and you'll actually be happier, right? I'll get a little bit over, we can keep doing this all day. I'm really looking forward to next week. We're gonna get into lead generation, but give me some feedback. I'm relying on you guys to help me make this better. So whatever feedback, good or bad you got, you let me know. But you guys have a blessed weekend. I'm gonna see you next Thursday.